So the main characters in 5 Feet Apart are Stella and Will, and then Poe, and of course the supporting cast, the nurses are also.
Some observers hope Blake will eventually acknowledge any personal or emotional struggles that may have led her to exaggerate certain claims, while others believe she simply misjudged the risks of an aggressive strategy. Geneva, expecting that private messages and internal communications could one day be exposed. Even so, her acting talent remains largely undisputed. Critics and industry insiders continue to praise her on-screen performances, noting that the controversy appears rooted more in behind-the-scenes power dynamics than in her professional abilities as an actress. Her long-term recovery, however, depends heavily on how she chooses to respond to the growing scrutiny. Will she confront the evidence directly, address the inconsistencies, and attempt to rebuild trust, or will she opt for silence and hope the storm eventually passes? Fans are increasingly demanding accountability, and remaining quiet may prove to be a risky choice, especially as social media draws comparisons to past Hollywood scandals where silence only intensified public backlash. Blake's statements regarding creative control, postpartum challenges, and intimate scene guidelines remain part of the public record. Should she pursue her claims in court, she would likely face depositions and be required to submit unedited materials, a process that could either strengthen her credibility or further undermine her position. Justin Baldoni's legal team appears fully prepared, armed with text messages, timelines, and testimonies that directly challenge Blake's version of events. While the court of public opinion may have already formed strong opinions, formal legal proceedings are expected to bring every hidden detail of the conflict into the open. Caught squarely in the middle of the fallout, Ryan Reynolds has become the unexpected recipient of public sympathy. Rather than reacting impulsively or offering blind public support, he reportedly took time to review the evidence carefully before making any decisions. Ultimately, he appeared to conclude that he could no longer remain in a marriage overshadowed by controversy and unresolved contradictions. His decision to step back, measured, principled, and deliberate, has earned him respect from both fans and industry insiders, even as it clearly comes at a deeply personal emotional cost. The future of the three central figures remains uncertain. Speculation continues over whether Ryan and Justin might eventually collaborate on a project that combines Ryan's mainstream star power with Justin's grounded, message-driven storytelling. Some even imagine a film or documentary that pulls back the curtain on Hollywood as complex power structures and behind-the-scenes politics. Alternatively, the two may choose to support one another quietly from a distance, maintaining clear professional and personal boundaries. Whatever path they take, one thing is undeniable: this saga has permanently reshaped the public narrative surrounding all three individuals. Blake Lively now stands at a pivotal crossroads in her career. She faces a defining choice: address her audience directly and attempt to reclaim credibility by clarifying her side of the story, or retreat from the spotlight and rely on time and talent to dull the impact of the controversy. Hollywood has long been a place where comebacks are possible and reputations can be rebuilt. But in today's digital age, the stakes are higher than ever. Every text, email, and private conversation can be preserved indefinitely, capable of restoring a reputation or dismantling it in an instant. As fans and insiders watch closely, anticipation continues to build over how the next chapter of this very public drama will unfold. For Blake, the growing digital paper trail has inflicted serious damage on what was once a carefully polished and widely admired public image. As leaked messages and private communications continue to circulate, the unfolding alignment between Ryan Reynolds and Justin Baldoni has become a central fixation for the entertainment press. Many outlets have framed this emerging alliance as a clear signal of just how far Ryan has distanced himself from Blake's version of events. Industry insiders, from directors to script supervisors, note that it is rare to see a personal relationship unravel so publicly over a film dispute. Yet those familiar with Hollywood dynamics understand that situations like this are almost never about a single project. Long-standing trust issues, underlying incompatibilities, and unresolved personal tensions often simmer quietly beneath the surface for months, sometimes even years, before reaching a breaking point. Fans are now watching with a mix of fascination and disbelief, analyzing newly revealed text messages and flooding online forums with speculation about what comes next. Some wonder whether Blake will attempt reconciliation, offering clarifications or explanations to repair misunderstandings with Ryan. Others believe the divorce filing represents a definitive and irreversible break, signaling that any hope of resolution has already passed. Ryan's increasingly visible connection with Justin speaks volumes. By aligning himself, whether publicly or quietly, with Justin, Ryan has sent a clear message that he does not accept Blake's account of what transpired during it ends with us, while the full truth remains partially obscured. The aftermath has become a sobering lesson in the pressures of living under constant public scrutiny. In today's digital age, private moments are rarely safe from exposure. Every message, phone call, and behind-the-scenes interaction can be preserved, dissected, and potentially weaponized. Maintaining a public image has become a high-stakes challenge. where even minor missteps can be broadcast worldwide within seconds. Hollywood, long accustomed to manufacturing polished illusions, is now confronting the weight of real-world evidence. Text messages, leaked communications, and private footage possess the power to dismantle even the most carefully curated reputations. What began as a promising film adaptation has evolved into a sweeping saga centered on a marriage once viewed as a symbol of Hollywood's stability and romance. The rapid escalation of events has been particularly shocking. Only months ago, It Ends With Us was expected to captivate audiences with its emotional depth and star power. Now, instead of discussions about storytelling and performance, public attention is dominated by accusations, counterclaims, ethical debates, and the implications of using personal relationships to influence creative control. The dramatic fallout from Blake and Ryan's separation has overshadowed the film entirely, transforming a potential cinematic milestone into a spectacle of gossip and speculation. Yet even amid the chaos, there remains a faint undercurrent of possibility. Once legal proceedings conclude and emotions cool, a more nuanced understanding may emerge, one shaped by miscommunication, mounting pressure, and personal stress rather than outright malice. In Hollywood's high-pressure environment, even seasoned professionals can act defensively or out of fear, allowing relatively small disputes to balloon into massive public conflicts. Still, with divorce papers filed and public opinion sharply divided, reconciliation appears increasingly unlikely. Ryan's actions, however, have left little room for ambiguity. By standing with Justin, whether as a collaborator, an ally, or simply a moral supporter, he has made his position unmistakably clear. This support is no longer subtle. It is visible and deliberate. The entertainment world is watching closely, captivated by the evolving dynamic between Ryan and Justin. Fans and insiders alike are speculating about potential collaborations in film, television, or even documentary work, intrigued by the possibility of the two joining forces in the future. For Blake, the challenges ahead are formidable. She now faces intense questions surrounding trust, credibility, and the limits of influence in shaping narratives. Any attempt at a comeback would require addressing an audience already exposed to conflicting accounts and tangible evidence. Rebuilding trust may depend on transparency, substantiation, and a willingness to acknowledge missteps or exaggerate. Every statement she makes will be scrutinized, every explanation measured against the existing record. Ultimately, Blake's choices in the coming months could define the trajectory of her career. The focus has shifted from her undeniable acting talent to broader concerns about integrity and control in an industry driven by perception. Whether she confronts the controversy directly or retreats from the spotlight, the outcome will be closely watched. The saga surrounding It Ends With Us, the divorce, and the unexpected Ryan-Justin alliance is far from over. Its repercussions are likely to ripple through individual careers and the wider entertainment landscape for years to come, leaving Hollywood and its audience waiting for the next chapter to unfold. Hollywood has always thrived on surprises, and just when it appears the full story has come into focus, new twists inevitably emerge. For now, however, the lines appear sharply drawn. Ryan Reynolds and Justin Baldoni stand on one side, Blake Lively on the other, separated not only by professional disagreements but by a divorce, playing out under intense public scrutiny. While legal proceedings will eventually offer some form of resolution, whether through a court ruling or a private settlement, the battle for public trust is already well underway. In the unforgiving court of public opinion, where reputations can shift overnight and private truths rarely remain hidden, Blake's version of events has been questioned in ways few could have anticipated. Amid the turmoil, a rare silver lining has begun to surface. The unfiltered realities of Hollywood are being exposed for all to see. Hello, and welcome to PopStream. For years, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively were held up as the ultimate Hollywood power couple, the rare duo that seemed to genuinely have it all figured out. They represented a kind of modern fairy tale, effortlessly charming, endlessly supportive, and refreshingly playful in an industry where relationships are often short-lived and fragile. Their social media accounts were filled with witty banter and inside jokes. Their red carpet appearances looked carefully coordinated yet natural, and their interviews were packed with warmth and humor that made their bond feel authentic rather than performative. To fans, their marriage symbolized stability, mutual respect, and a love that could withstand fame, pressure, and constant public scrutiny. That image, however, has now been shaken by a stunning turn of events. Ryan has reportedly filed for divorce, citing a growing and complicated web of drama connected to Blake's increasingly messy and public fallout with actor-director Justin Baldoni. What initially appeared to be a straightforward and highly anticipated adaptation of the beloved novel It Ends With Us has instead unraveled into a whirlwind of rumors, contradictions, and behind-the-scenes tension. This situation has moved far beyond minor creative disagreements or a handful of leaked text messages. It has evolved into a full-blown public controversy, marked by shifting alliances, mounting pressure, and deeply personal consequences. Most surprising of all, Ryan appears to be distancing himself from Blake, aligning in unexpected ways with Justin Baldoni, an outcome few fans could have predicted. Whispers of trouble had been circulating for weeks before the divorce was confirmed, with longtime followers noticing subtle but telling changes in Ryan's behavior. The constant praise and public admiration he once openly expressed for Blake seemed to vanish almost overnight, replaced by a noticeable silence that stood in stark contrast to their previously affectionate dynamic. As speculation continues to grow, fans and industry insiders alike are left questioning how a relationship once seen as unbreakable reached such a dramatic and public breaking point. The first major red flag emerged when Ryan began attending high-profile events alone, a noticeable shift from his usual presence by Blake's side. He appeared unusually reserved, avoided light-hearted interactions, and, most tellingly, refused to answer even basic questions about his wife when approached by the press. This silence stood in stark contrast to the open admiration he had once shown so freely. Shortly after, tabloids reported that Ryan and Justin Baldoni had been seen meeting privately on multiple occasions, with both men described as serious and deeply focused. When questioned, Ryan downplayed the encounters as nothing more than casual conversations, but the subsequent divorce filing suggested there was far more unfolding behind closed doors than he was willing to admit publicly. To understand how things reached this point, it's important to look at the project at the center of the storm. Justin Baldoni starred and co-wrote and directed It Ends With Us, later bringing Blake on board as a co-lead. At first, the pairing appeared ideal. Blake was widely admired for her elegance, warmth, and sharp intelligence, while Justin, though less traditionally famous, had built a strong reputation for authenticity, sensitivity, and humanitarian work. Fans expected their collaboration to elevate the film and deliver something truly special. However, behind the scenes, tensions reportedly began to simmer. Insiders claimed Blake felt increasingly overshadowed by Justin's all-encompassing control over the project. As his influence extended across both creative and production decisions, what initially seemed like routine Hollywood friction soon escalated into something far more serious. Blake reportedly suggested that Justin was behind a wave of negative media coverage portraying her as difficult or uncooperative, hinting at an unseen hand feeding damaging narratives to the press. At first, some sympathized with her claims, recognizing how frequently reputation management and power struggles shape Hollywood careers, but that sympathy quickly faded. Justin's inner circle pushed back, releasing leaked text messages and internal documents that appeared to contradict Blake's version of events. Rather than pointing to sabotage, the communications suggested Blake herself was generating conflict on set, attempting to influence creative decisions and leveraging her industry connections when outcomes didn't align with her expectations. As more evidence surfaced, the gap between Blake's public statements and the behind-the-scenes reality became increasingly difficult for Ryan to ignore. Known for being her most loyal and outspoken supporter, he initially remained silent, hoping to protect both his marriage and her reputation without inflaming an already volatile situation. Over time, however, the inconsistencies began to take their toll. Ryan reportedly felt trapped, torn between his loyalty to his wife and the mounting proof that her account of events was, at the very least, incomplete. The emotional strain of reconciling those contradictions ultimately became impossible to sustain. With each new revelation, Ryan found himself pulled further into a complex and exhausting situation that threatened not only his public image, but also his sense of personal integrity. What began as an effort to stay neutral and protect his family slowly turned into a moral dilemma, as the growing volume of evidence made it increasingly difficult to ignore the reality unfolding behind the scenes. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni remained firm and methodical, supported by extensive documentation, detailed timelines, and private conversations that directly contradicted much of Blake's public narrative. Despite the chaos surrounding Blake and Ryan's unraveling marriage, Justin did not appear to take any satisfaction in their personal turmoil. Privately, he maintained that his sole objective was to defend his name, safeguard his career, and clarify the truth about what had actually transpired during the making of It Ends With Us. As the saga continued to unfold, the public watched closely as what once seemed like an idyllic Hollywood marriage crumbled under the weight of conflicting stories, leaked evidence, and mounting professional and personal pressure. This was no longer just celebrity gossip. It had become a revealing case study in power, perception, and control within the entertainment industry. The situation exposed how carefully crafted public images can fracture when confronted with documentation, how narratives can be shaped and reshaped, and how even the most seemingly perfect couples can become entangled in layers of strategy, misrepresentation, and unintended consequences. The fallout from Blake's actions and Ryan's response was far from over, leaving fans to witness a very public and increasingly messy collision between truths, reputation, and personal relationships. Throughout the ordeal, integrity appeared to be central to Justin Baldoni's approach. Determined to protect both his work and his private life, he focused strictly on addressing and disproving Blake Lively's claims, deliberately avoiding personal attacks or emotional escalation. Industry insiders began whispering that Ryan Reynolds' own core values in transparency and fairness may align more closely with Justin's calm, evidence-driven stance than with the increasingly tangled explanations Blake continued to offer. Those whispers gained traction when Ryan and Justin were later spotted meeting in a noticeably calmer and more relaxed setting. Paparazzi photographs captured the two men sharing a handshake and engaging in friendly conversation outside a coffee shop, their body language suggesting a tentative but genuine sense of mutual respect. Social media quickly erupted with speculation that Ryan may be quietly siding with Justin, sparking conversations about potential future collaborations. Fans imagined what such a partnership might look like, noting that Ryan's sharp comedic timing paired with Justin's grounded, dramatic sensibility could create a compelling dynamic on screen. At the same time, Blake found herself under increasing scrutiny as her earlier claims continued to unravel. Viewers who once admired her effortless charm and polished image began questioning the credibility of her version of events surrounding "It Ends With Us." The contradictions, highlighted by leaked text messages and internal communications, noticeably damaged her public standing. While her core fan base remains loyal, the unquestioning admiration she once commanded has clearly begun to fade.